The 2005 football season started like no other in history for the beloved Black and Gold, losing their home stadium before the first real game was ever played.
The last 2 weeks has felt like 6 months.
As Hurricane Katrina made landfall, members of the team and their families were in Oakland, California, getting ready for the Saints' final preseason game. That game could be considered a model for the entire season, on the road and ending in a loss. Finally, the tumultuous year came to an end, and the Saints secured the number 2 overall pick with a 3-13 record.
You have to be tough. I think you have to expect a lot from your players.
Things started to turn around with the announcement of a new head coach. Then owner Tom Benson fronted the money to sign possibly the number 1 free agent on the market. And the number 1 player on everyone's draft board fell to the Saints with the 2nd overall pick.
Reggie's in town.
But can this revamped team of new faces make some noise this season?
I know that this town is craving a winner, and you're going to get one.
Or will they end up like so many in Saints history and fall flat on their face? This special edition of Saints Game Plan starts right now. And good evening to you. Welcome to the 2006 Black and Gold Preview. I'm Eric Clemons, along with the muscular guy here, former Saints fullback Buford Jordan. Now, over the next hour, we'll examine every aspect of the 2006 Saints under their new head coach, Sean Payton. Some offensive fireworks might be in the future with the additions of Drew Brees and Reggie Bush, but will there be enough of an upswing on defense? That unit will certainly be tested by Peyton Manning and the Colts with a kickoff in Jackson slated for 6 p.m. Now, leading up to that, Damon Darensburg, who will have plenty from Jackson over the next hour. What's up, Damon?
What's up, Eric? Buford, how you guys doing today?
Doing well.
Just to let you know, we're here at AC Lambert Stadium in Jackson, Mississippi. The Saints are getting ready for their first game against the Indianapolis Colts. And here are some things to look for in this game, Eric and Buford. The guys are 1-1 so far in this year. And you think about this. They faced the Tennessee Titans in the first game. The first team offense didn't do too good, but they did win that game, winning their first preseason game. Then the Dallas Cowboys, a team that's considered one of the upper tier teams in the NFL this year. The offense didn't play well in that one. What did the Saints do? They lost that one 30-7. So I think the things to look for in this game is watch the offense, see what they can do. You heard Drew Brees say all week, hey, we want to start fast. If they want to go into the regular season with a little punch in their game, they have to start fast. I'll be popping up the entire hour with different stuff about the Saints position battles. So for now, from AC Lambert Stadium in Jackson, Mississippi, I'm Damon Darensburg for Fox 8 Sports. Guys, back to you.
All right, Damon, we'll hold it to that. We'll see you a little bit later on. Now, the effects of Hurricane Katrina touched just about everyone in the region. The Saints probably didn't know it at the time, but over the 4 months following Katrina, they would usher in a new era. Goodness knows the quicker we all forget 2005, the better. By now, every NFL fan in America knew of the Saints and New Orleans' plight with all the national media coverage of Hurricane Katrina's devastation. By the time they opened the season in Charlotte against the Panthers, it was as if the Saints had become America's team. Touchdowns by New Orleans were cheered by Panther fans, and Week 1 even included a Hollywood ending.
It's straight, it's drifting, and it's good.
The America's Team theme continued the next Monday night at Giant Stadium. Yes, the Saints were in New Jersey, but honored as the home team against the Giants. The Saints were generous hosts, committing 6 turnovers and helping the visiting Giants win it 27-10. More bad circumstances befell the Saints 3 weeks later in Green Bay. After catching this swing pass, Deuce McAllister blew his right knee making a cut and would be sidelined for the remainder of the season. To literally add insult to injury, the Packers would tear into the Saints with a 52-3 pounding. From then on, it seemed America's team became a target for officials. First, a rare defensive holding penalty gave the Falcons a second chance at a game-winning kick to end regulation. A non-call allowing Ernie Conwell to be stripped while appearing down by contact helped the Rams seal and steal a win in St. Louis, instead of the Saints pulling off late-game heroics. Tough breaks continued 2 weeks later in Baton Rouge as Robbie Gould beat the Saints with a 28-yard field goal with 6 seconds left to give Chicago a 3-point win. Having endured 6 straight losses, the Saints finally caught a break on their second visit to their home stadium in New Jersey. Aaron Brooks had his highest passer rating of the season, and finally, the football gods favored New Orleans when Mike Nugent's game-winning field goal effort fell a few inches short. It was the final high point of a dismal and forgettable season in New Orleans Saints history. In their 5-game skid that finished 2005, the Saints, it seemed, found every way to look bad while making good players look even better. Even fiery post-game comments from Jim Haslett after a 17-point loss to the Panthers seemed to ring empty.
And they won't quit the next 2 games, I'll promise you that.
No, the Saints did not quit down the stretch in '05, but nobody would have blamed them if they had thrown in the towel. 2006 marks the beginning of the Sean Payton era, and the new head coach made a promise the day he was hired.
It's not okay to be late. Those are things that won't be tolerated.
Now, once Sean Payton arrived, he didn't waste any time getting his kind of players on the team. You come to expect this with a new regime. March was the busiest month of all. Payton's first signing was a familiar one. Linebacker Scott Fajita was with him last year in Dallas. The next day, Coach got his franchise quarterback in Drew Brees. Then 2 days later, he inked veteran safety Omar Stoutmire. The next few months provided much-needed depth with the trade for defensive tackle Hollis Thomas on draft day and the signing of linebackers Jay Foreman and Tommy Polley and defensive tackle Josh Williams. Now, the biggest free agent signing was obviously Drew Brees. The former Pro Bowl quarterback bolted San Diego and signed a 6-year, $60 million deal with the Saints. But questions surrounded his corrective surgery for a torn labrum in his throwing shoulder. It caused teams like Miami to take a pass on him. But Brees is improving with each practice and has already assumed a leadership role with his teammates. He knows how important it is to see an overall improvement against the Colts tonight.
Yeah, probably so, especially, what we've done or not done in the first 2. I think we need to go out and then we need to, perform well as a first group because it really is probably our last, big chunk of action before we start the regular season. So it's important for us to go out and look sharp and, like I said, start fast and do those things that we're going to be preaching all week long.
Now, Saints medical staff says Brees' surgically repaired shoulder is completely healed and it doesn't appear to be affecting his passes. But just how much does a major injury stay in the back of a player's mind? Buford, you played this game for a number of years. You've had some injuries you had to play with. How big a deal is this shoulder injury for Drew Brees, and what have you noticed about him this preseason?
Well, I think it's probably was a big deal in the beginning, but, after you look at him in the first couple of games, the way he throws the ball with zip and all, that it might not be bothering him as much. Anytime you get a serious injury, it's going to be in the back of your mind, but he's done a good job of putting it in the back of it.
Check him out in practice. This is just a couple days ago. This one's about 55 yards in the air, and it is a dart to Jamal Jones. Didn't look bad there.
Not at all. That was right on the money, and if we can see some of those in the game, hey, it'll be a big time for us.
And then this is the 4th and 1 from the preseason game against Dallas. That one had some zip on it, too. I thought maybe too much, but you liked the pass.
I thought it was a good play, the way he did it. You saw the separation between the receiver and defender, and he put it where it was supposed to be. The receiver should have reacted a little quicker, so that tells you he has the zip, and accurate throwing. Right here was another shot, throwing the zip and keeping the guy moving. So.
All right, so Drew Brees, hopefully, he stays healthy throughout the preseason, and he's going to have a good year with the New Orleans Saints. Now, as for Sean Payton, he worked under Bill Parcells, but he'll be the first to tell you he isn't exactly a disciple of the tuna. One look at the way he conducts himself tells you that he is his own man with a clear vision on where the Saints can go. I caught up with him earlier this week. I know that in life, and you've worked a long time to get this opportunity to be a head coach, the vision you have, the goal setting and stuff you have, is everything coming out like you thought it was when you envisioned getting an opportunity like this?
There's some things I think maybe you expect or you prepare to expect. There's some other things that, are on-the-job training. I think we've had a lot of work done in training camp. There's a lot of areas we still need to improve on. The game we played Monday night was disappointing, and I think our team would say the same thing. So, we couldn't get out here to practice quick enough. Today being Wednesday, they had Tuesday off. So I'm glad we got this practice in. We got a bunch of little things to detail and clean up. But, so far we've managed to stay kind of on path, and we'll see where it goes.
You talked about when the decision was made to move out here to Millsaps and do everything, team closeness, camaraderie. Is that goal being achieved up to this point as we record?
Well, there's a lot that goes into this camp. There's no distractions. You're away from all the things that could possibly pull from you. Now, that's hard. It's hard for the players, and it's hard for the people that work here, and scouts, coaches, everyone's sacrificing to some degree. But that's how I envision training camp, and people here have done a good job hosting us. They've really provided us with a good atmosphere and environment for learning, so I'm kind of excited about that part of it.
When you first got hired, of course, we badgered you a lot about trying to evaluate talent and telling us what you were going to look to do. But, of course, you've taken some time to do that and see this team. Is it a team that, based on the talent you've evaluated and what you've seen out here, that was better than a 3-13 record? I know Bill Parcells used to say our record is what it is, but you get what I'm getting at. Is it a better talent?
I don't know. I mean, the only way you can measure it is based on how you finished, and so they were 3-13 a year ago. Of course, we don't want to be that this year. We've got a lot of work to do, and we've got a lot of improving to do, and that's what we plan on working on. You know, I think this team wants to do the right things. They put in, up till now, the off-season program and the time on task that we think is necessary to put in.
One of our reporters said that, boy, if you're a guy or a person coming out here and had been in a cave and you saw Drew Brees and you saw Deuce McAllister practicing and playing, you probably wouldn't know they were coming off of serious injuries. Have you been surprised at their progress and what they've done so far?
Well, I've been encouraged. You know, it takes time, but I've been encouraged with the fact that there haven't been any setbacks. The big concern you have when you come into a stretch is all of a sudden, you know, facing a setback that puts them back or out a week or two. So we've been fortunate so far, knock on wood, that hasn't happened.
What's Sean Payton's thing you want to do, this team to improve at best as we go into 2006? What do you see?
I mean, I think the big thing we've talked about is learning what keeps you from winning games, and it starts with turning the football over. It starts with penalties, being sloppy, and so you know, those are the things that I want to initially address. You know, I'd like to think that we're looking to build a tough, strong, smart football team, and you know, that's kind of our approach.
Mm-hmm. Have you a message or anything? I know your job is with these players, but for fans who have so many high expectations and they see guys like Brees come in and Reggie and you and the whole thing, what would you say to a fan who was talking to you?
Well, I mean, I'm encouraged from the 6 months living here. You know, when we moved in, or I moved in January, and our family moved in July, of just the support of the region, the people in New Orleans. I guess when you live outside the area, you don't understand or appreciate how much or how important this team is to that area. So that's exciting. That's encouraging, and I know our players and coaches, the organization, all feed off that. So. That's something they ought to be proud of, and I'm glad we're playing back in New Orleans, so we look forward to the season.
All right, Sean Payton. He'll have plenty of help, but not much professional experience from his assistants. Both offensive coordinator Doug Maroney and defensive coordinator Gary Gibbs have extensive collegiate experience, but each only 5 years in the NFL. Special teams coordinator John Bonamego has 8 years under his belt, but so far this preseason, the Saints have given up some big returns, and this is just the first year for head strength and conditioning coach Dan Dalrymple. Now, Buford, a lack of coaching experience, they're trying to get their message across. Could it be a negative effect on a younger team?
Well, I mean, it could be, but in another way, it could be a positive because, hey, that way they all making mistakes at the same time, you know. And I think Sean said a good thing is more what I like he said is them being a smart team. People want them to go to the Super Bowl. One of the only ways they're going to do that is really eliminate mistakes, you know, which has been a plague for the Saints for the longest.
For a very long time. Hopefully we can see some signs of life this evening against the Colts. Now stay where you are. We're just getting started on this special edition of Saints Game Plan. Just ahead, hey, Joe Horn was slowed by injuries last season, but the veteran's ready to return to the role of go-to guy in 2006. Plus,
9 months after it looked like the Saints were headed to San Antonio, Tom Benson's apparent change of tune has this place nearly sold out. I'm Rob Masson. That story coming up.
Jeff Fain, center for the New Orleans Saints. Happy to be here in New Orleans, and you know, the goal of this offensive line this year is not to be the negative spot. You know, we want to be a positive spot. We got a lot of skilled players, a lot of skilled talent, and we're excited to be the strong point of this team.
all right, you'll be meeting various new faces of the Saints throughout the program. Now, one of the Saints' familiar faces on offense is rarely at a loss for words, and for several years has rarely gone without making big plays and racking up some big yardage in the passing attack. Like the Saints, Joe Horn's looking to make a comeback statement in 06. I caught up with number 87, and we talked about a number of issues one-on-one. What's the differences in this camp under new coach Payton that you've noticed? A little more strenuous?
A lot more strenuous. It's definitely, I think the hardest training camp I've ever been in my 11-year career, and everybody else is saying that. But you know what? It's hard. We just have to do it hard. We have to understand what the process is and what Coach Payton has in store for us. So he's our head coach, he's our leader, and we have to do whatever he has on the schedule. Sometimes he bends the rule. Very little, but he bends the rule and let us know that he does care about us and he wants us to be on time. He wants us to be perfect at everything we do.
What does, as you think about last year, I know you battled some injury things and issues of your own and didn't have the kind of year Joe Horn's used to having, but does it seem like a bad dream now? Does it seem like it happened 100 years ago, all the travel, all the junk with Katrina, the whole deal? And how do you view back that as you look back on it?
Well, it was a lot. I don't put that on anyone. We went through some difficult times, and it was hard to prepare for a game going through those times that we were going. San Antonio made it as comfortable as they could for us, and obviously guys' mindset, the coach's mindset wasn't where it needed to be, and that was on football when we needed to be. So I think we had a good football team, but until you go through what we went through, nobody, no coach, no player could ever say they would have did different. So that's over with now. I had a hamstring pull last year during the season. When you get hamstring pulls, you have to sit out for 3 or 4 weeks and let it heal. Right. And I was trying to play every week. I was re-aggravating my hamstring, and that definitely was one of the reasons I had a bad year. But I'm over that. I'm feeling good, feeling healthy, ready to roll, man, and I'm excited about this new offense.
I was going to ask you specifics. I mean, you got a new quarterback, and of course you and AB had hooked up for so many of those years. Now it's you and Drew. You got Nick Deuce is looking great in practice, recovering from his knee injury. You got the hotshot rookie, a baby matrix, you call him.
Definitely.
You must be excited about where this offense could be headed if all you guys stay healthy and get on the same page.
I am, because it would definitely force defenses to have to play man-to-man. We have baby matrix coming out the backfield. We have Deuce McAllister, different sets. We have Dante Stallworth doing a great job coming along now, Devery Henderson. So we're moving different places now. You're not going to find Joe Horn sitting on one side 80% of the time. I'm going to be moving different spots, playing different positions. So I think it'll be very difficult for a defense to pick up on what the New Orleans Saints are doing.
Your final assessment. I mean, Coach said it last year, Coach says it this year, Mickey said it when he started to make some changes, that this wasn't a 3-13 team. You have more talent than that. Do you believe this team is ready to take off and prove that last year was a real bad dream on the field as well as on?
We will. We're doing a lot of great things right now. Still have a long way to go. We have a lot of stuff to put in. We have a lot of places to go back and make sure we're shined up and polished. And trust me, we have the dedication, we have the commitment from all the guys to do that. And we're working our asses off to do that and make sure it happens. So trust me, they'll see a different team with the New Orleans Saints. That's a promise.
Now, one problem Joe Horn won't have this season is a lack of an NFL-caliber quarterback behind center. Both of Drew Brees' backups have looked pretty good this preseason in the brief time we've seen them. Todd Bauman played the whole second half Monday night against Dallas, completing 13 of 16 for 116 yards. And Jamie Martin was 13 of 22 for 143 in the game against the Titans. But if you look at their effectiveness last year, Martin holds a clear edge to become the #2 quarterback. Not only did Martin have a better completion percentage, plus more yards and touchdowns, he posted a 4-1 record as a starter, while Bauman finished the season at 0-3. Now, Adrian McPherson is also battling for a roster spot, but he's still injured after being hit by a golf cart being driven by the Tennessee Titans mascot. Is one of the weirdest stories ever. We'll have more on that a little bit later in the show. But Buford, what have you seen from Bauman and Martin so far? Again, we haven't seen them a lot, but who do you like? You give any one of them an edge this year?
Well, I mean, right now it's pretty close to the way they've done things. And, hey, you know what? It's just going to be one of those where it comes down to these last couple of games as to what they do. So right now it's just kind of up in the air.
Bauman finished last year, didn't look all that impressive, but both, when they have played, have been impressive this preseason.
Yeah, they have. You know, and some people would say they've been more effective than Drew. And that's probably because of the protection they got. And then you look at, again, what units they're going against, you know, and that makes a difference. But right now it's neck and neck and we just have to wait and see what the coaches decide.
And we won't see too much of them today if it goes as planned, because the starters are supposed to see 2 to 3 quarters. So.
Right, and that's the time you start doing it. Now you'll see 3 today and probably 4 the next game.
Okay, good enough. All right, while the 2 backup quarterbacks have looked pretty good in the first couple games when we've seen them, the offensive line has been downright awful at times. Now, Jamal Brown has had trouble adjusting to his move out to left tackle, and injuries are forcing several players to miss valuable time. One bright spot, though, has been center Jeff Fain. Coaches are impressed with his pre-snap calls and his blocking ability, and they think he'll help fans forget about the loss of Pro Bowler LaCharles Bentley. The former first-rounder says the line might not look good right now, but once it gets some time to gel, things will turn around. Now, of course, everyone anxious to see how the talent of Reggie Bush translates to the next level. We've seen flashes of that brilliance that we've rarely seen up close in Saints practices and in both preseason games so far. You played the running back position, perennial Pro Bowler Joe Horn back for another year. We all know who will line up at the wide receiver spots for the Saints this year, but Dante Stallworth has been getting some stiff competition on the other side. Who's going to win that battle for the flanker position is coming up next, and we'll hear from you about Reggie Bush and that flanker position coming up.
All right.
Have you ever had New Orleans is Scott Fajita from the Rose Bowl bound California Golden Bears. Can't wait to see you this year.
He was tired after practice. Forgive him, folks. Saints players say this has been one of their most difficult training camps ever, but injuries have plagued both the offensive and defensive lines and forced many players to fill in on both the second and first team drills. Preseason games haven't been kind either, with running back Aaron Stecker going down with a bad ankle against the Titans. But the oddest injury of all happened just after halftime of the game when the Titans mascot looked like a bookie trying to collect some money. The raccoon-like T-Rack should have yelled "4" when he drove a golf cart into backup quarterback Adrian McPherson on the sidelines. The Saints said the quarterback only bruised his knee, but McPherson still isn't practicing, and just a few days ago couldn't even straighten out his leg. Now, Buford, the Saints aren't the only team getting hit by the injury bug, and we hear it all the time. Many fans saying the preseason is too long. Players, some of them saying it as well. But you like the preseason just the way it is.
Well, I do. I mean, I think with the preseason, that's a time for us to find starters, backups, and hey, you know, like that, just to know what we have, but getting guys rest as well while the preseason goes. The first couple of games, you only want your veterans doing, you know, a quarter, maybe 2, as you get toward the 3rd and 4th game. So, you know, that's a good time for a lot of these guys to shine.
All right, and of course, guys, everybody complains about injuries, but injuries have always been a part of this game. Preseason, first game of the regular season, they always hurt when your starters go down.
And always will hurt. You know, the thing is, but hey, like you said, again, with preseason, that's why you need it, because, hey, you get some of your key people hurt early in the thing, then all of a sudden, hey, they can come back by the end of preseason and be ready for the season.
All right, Buford. Now, perhaps the most interesting battle of training camp has featured the fight for the 4th, 5th, and possibly 6th wide receiver spots. 8 players, possibly 3 roster spots. Damon Darensburg joins us live to shed some light on the situation at wide receiver. Damon.
Eric and Buford, the Saints offense went through an overhaul this season. They picked up Drew Brees, which is an upgrade at quarterback. They drafted Reggie Bush, which was a brilliant draft pick even with Deuce McAllister. But think about this. The team didn't address the wide receiver position, a position that was really considered inconsistent last year. So what we're going to have to see is if Drew Brees can work with the group that he has.
Joe Horn's the Saints' #1 receiver, but who's #2? It was supposed to be Dante Stallworth, then Devery Henderson. But the battle for #2 is yet to be determined, and no one is separating from the pack.
These guys are working hard. We're all working hard. It's hot. We have probably the toughest training camp in NFL history, and we know that, and we're working hard, and the guys are catching balls. We have an exciting coach, receiver coach, and CJ, he's pushing us real hard. So competition is competition.
All the receivers, we're pushing each other. We're all out here working together. And at the end of the day, our common goal is to win and be successful.
One bright spot in the receiving group has been rookies Marquez Colston and Mike Hass. Both have been impressive in camp and are making a push for serious playtime.
It's been pretty neat to see, those young guys come in and play the way they have. And, I think there's definitely a learning curve in this league. But some of these guys have stepped in and are way ahead of the curve at this point.
I really don't think about that too much. I just come out here every day and try to get better every day, and just keep progressing. And whatever happens in the end happens. These guys have been here a while. They paid their dues, and I just want to be a part of helping them win.
Competition is supposed to be healthy, and for the receiving core, it has been. But when the roster is finalized and final cuts are made, receivers who didn't make the cut have the talent to contribute somewhere else.
That's the unfortunate thing about this game. But whoever's not on this roster at the end of the season, by the time they make the final cuts, I can guarantee you they'll be on someone's roster by the next couple weeks. Guarantee you.
Now, guys, the Saints have a cluster of players at the receiver spot, and like I said, other than Joe Horn, they really don't have that big-name receiver to stick in as the number 2. So I have this question for Buford. Buford, can Drew Brees count on the guys who he have, or can he count on the scheme? I mean, what is going to happen with this team if Joe Horn go down? Who do they rely on? So can they count on the scheme, or can they count on the players that they have?
They're going to have to count on the scheme of it, because it's like you said, man, they're all about what as far as talent. It's just who can get in there and do what the coaches need done correctly, and that's going to be the key.
All right.
When it comes down to it.
Absolutely. Damon, we'll get back to you a little bit later. Buford, quickly, let's run down the Saints' offensive depth chart right now, and of course there's questions along the line, but let's talk at the skill positions. Seems pretty solid with a lot of veteran experience, quarterback and running back. Of course, we hope Deuce's knee stays healthy. Anything jumping out at you amongst the skill position people? I think we talked about tight end.
Yeah, we definitely did. I think with Ernie is going to be a key for him to be healthy all year. He made some good contributions when he was over with the Rams and stuff. And
he's another expert blocker.
Exactly, and we were hoping to get that effect for him when he came here, which we hadn't yet because of injuries and stuff. So if we can get him, and just get a guy, one of these draft choices to step up at the wide receiver. Because if you remember, Drew used to hand the ball to a good running back and have a good tight end, that he could dump it to.
A swing on to the line here. Of course, Jamal making the big move from right tackle to left tackle. Holland and Mayberry listed as number 1 on the depth chart right now at the guard spots, but really they are getting pushed by Nesbitt and the rookie Jari Evans, also seeing a lot of playing time up front. But this is the area where there's a little inexperience and could be a little weak.
Yeah, and of course in the NFL, this is one of the hardest areas to find the good people you need. But right now you got a solid little line right there, a couple of guys coming back from last year. And it's just getting them to work together, get some drive off the ball, protect Drew, and let him do his job.
All right, and speaking of a guy doing his job, we didn't consider him as one of the wide receivers earlier, but how about Reggie Bush? He's listed as a backup on the depth chart there behind Deuce McAllister, of course, but they're going to be moving him all over the place, and as promised earlier, we're going to talk a little bit about Baby Matrix, as they call him, because this guy played the position in the league. Now, I had to run things by him earlier and say, hey, is this guy really what he's seemed to appear to be like?
Yeah, he really is.
And he is the real deal.
We've already seen some of the ways they use him with the quick screen, hitting the backs out the backfield. So he definitely can do that. And with the way the receiver's playing, he can definitely get out there and play a wide receiver spot too.
Everybody, in the media now, we overhype people and we talk about this guy might be the next Barry Sanders or the next Walter Payton. Those are some big names to throw in there. But this guy seems to have that little magical step, that great speed and that innate ability to do something. We'll see a little bit of him in college and some flashes of him in the preseason, where he's shown fans that this could be a pretty special year for him if he gets enough touches.
Well, it really will be. Hey, if he learns the offense and what to do, his natural abilities are going to take over, and he definitely will be a dominant factor for us all year long.
And you saw that quick reversal of field, and if the guys don't pursue here, he could be way down the field. But 44 yards, and I'm sure this had fans all over the New Orleans area screaming, because, again, many backs do not have the speed to reverse field like that and beat everybody to the corner like he did on that play.
And with that acceleration. I was looking at an article where Will Smith was saying about this is the NFL, they run faster. But you know what? Hey, when you got a guy that can move like that, you better run real fast.
And, of course, we all know everything he did at USC. He was Mr. Everything, punt return, returns, kickoff returns, wide receiver. They just needed to get number 5 the ball, and they still, in the Rose Bowl, didn't get him the ball down on that key 4th down play. They had Lindale White in the game, and they're still hearing it for that one. But I tell you what, he has been somebody that's special, and really, I'm really looking forward to seeing a little bit more of him in this game tonight against the Colts.
I really am too. I'm looking forward to seeing him a whole lot this season. You know, people said, well, we got Deuce when they drafted him and all. Hey, you remember we had Ricky Williams when they drafted Deuce, and look what happened in that deal.
Right.
So my thing is hey, just give Reggie the ball as many times as you can.
Give him
and
the ball,
let's see
get
what
out
he
of
can
the
do.
All right. Joe Horn's the Saints' #1 receiver, but who's number 2? It was supposed to be Dante Stallworth, then Devery Henderson, but the battle for number 2 is yet to be determined, and no one is separating from the pack. Might be one who is really a guy who might be affected by that particular situation. In Buford, you got Michael Lewis being one of several veterans who are with this team that were really favorites of the last regime, but boy, I tell you what, they might be on the bubble right now, might face cutdowns, especially a guy like the Beer Man who wasn't able to play.
Well, definitely, and when you're injured, it's hard to make an impression on a new squad and stuff, and hey, that's going to be the thing. But hey, the thing is hey, you know, his job really in jeopardy if Reggie can return kicks, like they said, you know. So hey, the thing is what they say, you can't make the club in the tub. So what I say for Mike is get himself healthy so he can get back and show what he can do.
All right. Now, defense was a glaring weakness for the Saints in 05, especially against the run. The team has made efforts to bolster its interior line and the back 7. Damon Darensburg has more with that story.
The Saints' pass defense ranked 3rd in the NFL last season, an impressive number but not a true indicator of the secondary's resourcefulness. There are new faces in the group, each with individual skills aimed at keeping that number 3 ranking in place. But one face sticking out in that crowd is second-year safety Josh Bullocks.
He's got some experience now. I don't consider him a rookie or young player, you know, having played last year. You know, it's good to get him back out there without having him in the spring because of the shoulder injury. But he's getting a lot of snaps and picking things up.
As a safety, you know, you got to handle all the calls and all the adjustments and things like that. You got to make sure everybody on the same page. So, I mean, it's a challenge.
The speedy Bullocks is the new man in charge, and Mike McKenzie has one corner spot sewed up. But with the release of Dwight Smith, coupled with uncertainty at the other corner spot, the stability of the secondary is a question that now needs to be answered.
We got a lot of people out here, like I said, we're trying to learn the system, and we're making little mistakes that we need to correct right now. And, you know, me being an older guy, you know, I'm one of the guys that's making mistakes, and I know I got a lot to learn, so it's too early to evaluate it right now, but right now we just gelling together.
You know, we play a lot of young guys back there. There is good competition, and, you know, certainly this Saturday will be a good test for those guys.
The battle for the open secondary spots will probably continue right up to the regular season opener, but building around Josh Bullocks is the right place to start.
Josh is basically the quarterback back there. I mean, he's made a big strides. You know, last year we had to tell him a lot of things to look for, you know, to help him out, little key things in the offense to give him an opportunity to get a jump on the offense, but now he's making the call. You know, he's like a veteran back there to us right now, so he's doing a great job.
Let's hope they can do a great job against Peyton Manning and the Colts coming up. Kickoff slated for about 6 o'clock. We'll be back with more of this special preseason edition of Saints Game Plan in just a moment. Stay where you are.
I'm Hollis Thomas, affectionately known as the Tank, defensive tackle number 99 on the program, number 1 in your heart, and I am a run stuffer. Thank you.
I guess you are, Hollis. Now, Katrina created a tremendous amount of upheaval, not just for the thousands of Louisianans, but also for the beloved Saints. At one point, many believed Tom Benson wanted to move the team, but now he seems to be singing a new tune. Rob Masson has that story.
It's really unbelievable, from a move to San Antonio to sparse crowds in Tiger Stadium to a near sellout on season tickets. Saints fans have been put through the ringer, but now hope springs more eternal than perhaps ever before. They were some of the darkest days in city history. The search for the missing, no electricity. Even the Saints left town.
I'd love to keep the Saints. I think what they're doing right now is a doggone shame. I think for them to be openly talking to other cities about moving is disrespectful to the citizens of New Orleans, disrespectful to the Saints fans.
For years, the rumors flew. Would Tom Benson move the team to his second hometown? Even the name San Antonio Saints seemed to have the sound of possibility, and Benson seemed pleased. Sellouts in San Antonio versus sparse crowds in Tiger Stadium. It seemed that only one man in the organization wanted the Saints to stay.
I stood up for something that I believed in, which is that the Saints, need to be in this community, short-term and long-term. And I know they're here short-term. I'm very hopeful and very optimistic that long-term will be here as well.
But Tom Benson asked Team Vice President Arnie Filko to leave.
Can you say whether you're no longer with that organization because you took a hard stand on trying to keep them here?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to get back into old history.
But a higher authority stepped in.
We're expecting to play the 2006 season as the New Orleans Saints.
With the help of the outgoing commissioner, the Saints started talking like a team that wanted to stay. First, the state made good on a $200 million commitment to renovate the dome. Then Tom Benson stepped up with a plan of attack. First victim, Jim Haslett.
As we work to bring a championship to our city.
Then Drew Brees was brought in at quarterback, and it appeared as if discipline was restored. Then the gods really smiled. Houston left the door open for the Saints to draft Reggie Bush, the man most considered the best player in the country, and ticket sales soared.
We will sell out on a season basis this year.
Now with dome renovations nearing completion, the man who appeared confused about where to keep the team is now singing a new tune.
A miracle that has happened, and the thing that's going to inspire even greater the people of Louisiana.
The outgoing NFL chief says for him, it was easy to work to keep the Saints here.
There have been so many great memories here with the Saints and Saints people, players, and Super Bowls that, that's why I'm going to be here on the 25th of September.
It's a year of transition for the team and the man who used to run the front office, who was elected councilman at large after the Saints let him go.
I thank the league for the position that they took because I think the commissioner's been outstanding, and I'm very happy they're here, and I'm appreciative that maybe I can help play a small role in helping them realize some success.
Arnie Filko remains tight-lipped on his falling out with the Saints, but he says in his new position, he now appreciates the team staying in a city that needs all the help it can get. Arnold Filko says he hasn't talked to Tom Benson since he was let go last October. However, he says if Benson ever needs a friend, he's got one. For his part, Tom Benson denied a request for an interview. Back to you.
Rob Masson, thank you very much. With the guarantee from the NFL that the Saints will stay in New Orleans at least through 2010, and we hope from beyond, and the city firmly behind the team, how much, Buford, does that affect the team as it comes out, especially on the 25th, packed house, coming into the Dome to play in your new stadium before these teams when you didn't know where you were going to be last year?
Yeah, it should be real exciting. Hey, that makes everything back to normal for the city and the team. So I think it's going to make a lot of things to know that, hey, you're going where you're supposed to be and play your games there. I was in Oklahoma City and the Hornets, and they telling the fans there, oh, well, y'all in support them and this and that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I say, y'all just getting bad information. So it's going to be a real good thing for the players. Hey, everybody, get a home here and settle down.
Players always say they don't hear the crowd, they don't hear the boos, or they don't hear the cheers, but you really do, don't you? Not that you don't play anymore.
Unless they have earplugs in their ear.
All right, coming up next on the Saints Black and Gold preview, we'll head back to Jackson, Mississippi and take a look at the Saints linebackers and find out how they plan to stop the big running backs in the NFC South Division. We'll be right back.
How you doing? I'm Omar Stoudemire, safety of the New Orleans Saints. This year on defense, you can expect us to see us flying around, hustling around, making a lot of plays, no quit attitude. This is the new Saints. We have a new attitude. We have a new type of aggression that we're playing with, and I think this year we're going to make a lot of plays on defense.
Welcome back to the Saints Black and Gold preview show. I'm Damon, Darensburg in Jackson, Mississippi. Now, the Saints linebacking core hasn't seen much since the days of the Dome Patrol when they had Pat Swilling, Sam Mills, Vaughn Johnson, Ricky Jackson. The team had a weak linebacking spot last year, and they didn't do much to address it this year in free agency. What will Sean Payton and the defense do with this year's linebacking core?
With each passing season, linebackers are required to do more than their historic predecessors. Long gone are the days of guys who are primarily run stuffers or just blitzers. Guys who play on a defense's second level must be able to stop the run, cover the pass, and blitz effectively.
It's kind of a feel thing. We're all taught different things, and we're all taught to fit plays a certain way, and it's kind of just getting a feel off, of your teammate, what he can and can't do and things like that. Because sometimes it's not going to go the way coach says it to go, and you need to know how he's going to react and know what he's thinking almost. So it's kind of a feel thing. You got to get the feel for him.
That's where the problems arise for the Saints. Not only are they extremely thin at the position, there's not a lot of experience. Scott Fajita provides stability at one outside spot, but the middle and the other outside spot are up in the air.
We've been kind of rotating everybody and things like that, so I kind of got a feel for everybody, you know what I mean? Because, part of I feel like the job of a guy that's in the middle, he's got to know his two outside guys. So I try to, when whoever's in there, I try to learn them and learn what they do well and know what I can and can't do when I'm working with them.
If the Saints plan on improving a rushing defense that ranked 27th in the league in 2005, the linebacking core is where the improvement must start.
Sometimes we've got to do certain things based on the offensive talent, based on what their defense can do, but certainly the key to the drill is keeping out of the end zone. You got to play good scoring defense, you got to be physical. At the end of the day, you got to be able to stop the run, can't let them run the ball and control the clock. So, we're looking for players that can play aggressive, play fast the football, and make plays.
Now, Eric, you saw Alfred Fincher play in college. He's slated to be the Saints' middle linebacker probably this year. You saw him play in college. Do you think he has what it takes to run the middle for the Saints?
Well, I tell you what, having never played middle linebacker in the NFL myself, I tell you what, he hasn't really been too out there. He hasn't done anything in the first two preseason games to make anybody notice number 56. I tell you what, he'd better do something in this game to make people notice Alfred Fincher. Otherwise, Jay Foreman might be outplaying him at practice and in camp and may take over that middle spot, Damon. And of course, we'll have to wait and see against a very difficult team to play defense against Peyton Manning and the Colts tonight. We'll check in with you a little bit later on, Damon. Now, time to take a look at the defensive depth chart. And Buford, on paper, it appears the strongest part of the defense might be the defensive line, and that might be a little shaky.
Yeah, it is, but it is one of the strong points of the defense is the front four. As you look in the games, we see a lot of people open in the secondary, and we really have a lot of missed tackles by them linebackers. So it's definitely going to be a key to shore up the back seven and the front four. Let them.
You heard Hollis Thomas say that he was a run stuffer. Leslie has been battling an injury. We've seen Ninkovich. He made that bad play with the unnecessary roughness in the last preseason game. But Thomas, Whitehead, and Brian Young are guys that have played well. The linebacking, this is a question because the weak linebacker, Tommy Polley, has been injured most of camp with a bad shoulder.
Right. And, that definitely hurts him, especially coming with a new team, having to learn a new system, and missing the practices that he has. That's going to hurt him.
And in the back four, McKenzie is pretty solid in there at one starter, but the rest of the guys, Bullocks doesn't have a lot of experience, but Omar Stoutmeyer, a pickup, does have a lot of experience.
Right, he has a lot of experience with a lot of different teams, so let's hope he took some from one of those teams and bring it here with us.
All right, let's hope that back seven will play again. They'll be tested in just a few minutes out at Veterans Memorial Stadium in Jackson. There's more to come on the Black and Gold preview. Coming up, we'll check back.